In the annals of American crime, few enigmas endure with the captivating power of D.B. Cooper. A name synonymous with audacious mystery, it belongs to the man who, on a cold November night, hijacked a commercial airliner, extorted a ransom, and then, under the cloak of darkness, vanished into the wild Pacific Northwest. He left behind a legacy of intrigue and a relentless question that has haunted investigators and enthusiasts for over 5 decades: what became of D.B. Cooper? This wasn't merely a crime, it was a defiant act against the seemingly unbreachable security of the skies, an act that transformed an ordinary man into an enduring legend. The date was November 24, 1971, the day before Thanksgiving. A man identifying himself as Dan Cooper purchased a one-way ticket for Northwest Orient Airlines Flight 305 from Portland, Oregon, to Seattle, Washington. He paid cash for the $20 ticket. On the surface, he was just another businessman, neatly dressed in a dark suit, white shirt, black tie, and a dark raincoat. But this seemingly routine flight, a mere 30-minute journey, was about to become the stage for one of the most daring and baffling crimes in aviation history. The weather was typical for the region, overcast and drizzly, setting a somber tone for the impending drama. He was a quiet, unassuming passenger. Witnesses later described him as being in his mid-40s, approximately 5 feet 10 inches tall, with a medium build and dark hair, possibly receding. His most distinctive feature, noted by flight attendant Florence Schaffner, was a pair of dark sunglasses, which he wore even after boarding. He seemed calm, almost detached. As the plane ascended, he took his seat, 18C, among the 36 other passengers, blending seamlessly into the pre-holiday travel crowd. No one suspected that this ordinary man carried an extraordinary secret, a plan meticulously conceived and about to unfold. Once airborne, Cooper ordered a bourbon and soda, and lit a cigarette. Soon after, he handed a note to Florence Schaffner, the flight attendant closest to him. Schaffner, accustomed to passengers attempting to flirt or pass phone numbers, tucked the note unopened into her purse. Cooper, however, leaned closer and quietly stated, "Miss, you'd better look at that note. I have a bomb." The seemingly innocuous slip of paper instantly transformed the flight into a high-stakes drama, revealing the true, terrifying intent of the man in seat 18C. The world was about to learn the name Dan Cooper, or rather, D.B. Cooper, a moniker born from a media misunderstanding. Schaffner discreetly opened the note. Inside, crudely written in block capital letters, were Cooper's demands: $200,000 in negotiable American currency, for parachutes, 2 primary and 2 reserve, and a fuel truck standing by in Seattle. The note also specified that if his demands were not met, he would detonate the bomb. Schaffner went to the cockpit to relay the message to Captain William Scott. The captain, in turn, contacted air traffic control, who then alerted federal authorities. A silent, tense negotiation began, with 36 unsuspecting passengers unknowingly caught in the grip of a desperate man's plan. The stakes had been raised exponentially. While the authorities scrambled to meet his demands, Cooper remained remarkably calm and composed. He showed the flight attendants a briefcase containing what he claimed was a bomb, 8 red cylinders, a battery, and wires. Yet, his demeanor was surprisingly polite, even personable. He was not menacing or overtly aggressive. He instructed the flight crew to warn the passengers that there would be a delay due to a minor mechanical issue, maintaining a facade of normalcy. This unusual calm, bordering on confidence, puzzled the crew and would later become a key element in understanding the mystery surrounding him. Who was this man who could orchestrate such a daring crime with such cool composure? After circling Seattle-Tacoma International Airport for over 2 hours to allow authorities time to gather the ransom and parachutes, Flight 305 finally landed. Cooper instructed the pilot to taxi to a secluded, brightly lit section of the tarmac. The tension was palpable as an FBI agent, dressed as a Northwest Orient employee, delivered a knapsack containing the $200,000 ransom, packed into 100 packets of $20 bills, and the 4 parachutes. In exchange, Cooper released all 36 passengers and 2 of the 5 flight attendants. The aircraft was largely emptied, leaving Cooper, the pilot, co-pilot, flight engineer, and senior flight attendant Tina Mucklow as the only occupants. With the ransom in hand and the passengers released, Cooper then made a new set of demands for the remaining crew. He insisted that the plane be refueled and that it take off for Mexico City, specifying a precise flight path, south-southeast, at a maximum altitude of 10,000 feet, with the landing gear deployed, and flaps set at 15 degrees. His meticulous instructions, coupled with his knowledge of aircraft operation, hinted at either military training or a deep understanding of aviation. The crew complied, purchasing fuel from a local company. As the plane was serviced, everyone wondered, what was his true intention? Mexico City felt like a cover story. During the refueling, Cooper asked flight attendant Tina Mucklow about the plane's rear stairwell, known as the air stair. He specifically inquired about its operation, whether it could be lowered during flight. This question was chillingly specific, revealing his true intention to exit the aircraft mid-air. He then tied one of the parachutes around himself and secured the money bag to his body. While the crew in the cockpit followed his instructions, they remained unaware of the exact nature of his final preparations in the rear of the plane. The silence from the cabin was unnerving, signaling that the climax of this extraordinary crime was fast approaching. At 7:40 p.m., with just 4 crew members and 1 hijacker on board, Flight 305 departed Seattle-Tacoma. 2 F-106 fighter jets from nearby McChord Air Force Base were scrambled to follow the Boeing 727, flying both above and below it, out of Cooper's sight. Their mission was to observe, not to intervene, due to the unpredictability of the situation. The weather remained foul, with strong winds and heavy rain. Below, the rugged, heavily forested terrain of the Pacific Northwest unfolded a vast, unforgiving wilderness. The stage was now set for Cooper's final, daring move, plunging himself into a turbulent night and an impenetrable mystery. Around 8:13 p.m., somewhere over southwestern Washington, Cooper executed his escape. He instructed Tina Mucklow, who was in the cockpit, not to come out. He then lowered the rear air stair. The crew in the cockpit felt a slight change in air pressure, and a warning light indicated the air stair was open. Cooper, weighed down by $200,000 in 2 parachutes, leaped from the plane into the stormy night. The exact location of his jump remains a point of contention, but it was estimated to be over a remote, mountainous region. He plunged into darkness, into the unknown, leaving behind a baffled crew in a world that would forever speculate on his fate. The fighter jets tracking Flight 305 did not see Cooper jump, nor did they see a parachute deploy. This was partly due to the extreme darkness, the dense cloud cover, and the jet's positioning relative to the 727. After approximately 20 minutes, with no further communication from Cooper, the crew cautiously checked the cabin. He was gone. The money, the briefcase, and 2 of the 4 parachutes had vanished with him. The aircraft landed safely in Reno, Nevada, but the man known as D.B. Cooper was nowhere to be found. He had performed the ultimate disappearing act, leaving behind only the ghost of a name and the echo of an impossible crime. Did he survive the perilous leap? The immediate aftermath was a scene of chaos and disbelief. As soon as the plane landed and Cooper's escape was confirmed, the FBI launched one of the most extensive and expensive manhunts in U.S. history, codenamed Norjack. Hundreds of agents, local law enforcement, and military personnel were immediately mobilized. The terrain below the suspected jump zone was rugged, heavily forested, and sparsely populated, making the search a monumental challenge. It was a region of dense woods, steep ravines, and fast-flowing rivers, a natural labyrinth that could swallow a man whole. Would this vast wilderness yield its secrets, or protect Cooper's dramatic escape? The search efforts were hampered by several factors. The imprecise nature of the jump zone, coupled with the immediate onset of freezing temperatures and heavy snow, made tracking any signs of Cooper nearly impossible. Search parties covered thousands of acres on foot and by air, but found nothing: no parachute, no money, no body, no sign of human activity. The sheer scale of the wilderness seemed to mock the investigators, offering countless hiding places. This initial, frantic search laid the groundwork for the enduring mystery, highlighting the vast challenges of tracking a ghost through such an unforgiving landscape. Despite the darkness and the brief interactions, the flight attendants provided remarkably consistent descriptions of Cooper. They noted his calm demeanor, his dark sunglasses, the neat business suit, and his clear, unaccented English. Flight attendant Tina Mucklow spent the most time with him and provided crucial details. These accounts were pivotal in constructing the first composite sketch, which was widely disseminated to the public. However, despite the consistency, these descriptions were largely generic, fitting countless men of a certain age in the early 1970s. The challenge was not just finding a man, but finding this specific man amidst millions. The FBI released several versions of a composite sketch, hoping a member of the public would recognize Cooper. The most widely known sketch depicts a man with dark, combed-back hair, wearing aviator sunglasses. This image became iconic, forever etched into the public consciousness as the face of America's most elusive fugitive. Thousands of tips poured in, but none ever led to a definitive identification. The sketch, while a vital tool, proved to be both a beacon of hope and a source of frustration, leading investigators down countless dead ends. It created a face for the mystery, but not a name. This enduring image is perhaps the closest the world has come to seeing the man himself. Beyond the composite sketch and witness accounts, investigators had frustratingly little to go on. No fingerprints were found that could be positively identified. The parachutes he left behind offered few clues. The plane itself yielded no conclusive forensic evidence. This stark absence of tangible proof became a defining characteristic of the D.B. Cooper case, elevating it beyond a simple manhunt into a legend. Without a body, a trace of the money, or any personal effects, the FBI was chasing a ghost. How could a man and $200,000 disappear so completely, leaving only questions in their wake? The FBI's investigation, dubbed Norjack for Northwest Airlines hijacking, quickly became an unprecedented effort. For years, a dedicated team of agents pursued every lead, no matter how remote. They interviewed hundreds of potential suspects, combed through countless background checks, and coordinated with law enforcement agencies across the country. The case file grew to over 60 volumes, a testament to the immense resources poured into solving the mystery. Norjack became a symbol of the FBI's unwavering commitment, but also a stark reminder of the limitations of human and technological capabilities in the face of a truly enigmatic crime. The scale of the hunt was immense, but so was the silence from the wilderness. The early years of the investigation were marked by a flurry of activity, producing a seemingly endless stream of potential leads that inevitably turned into dead ends. Every man who vaguely fit the description, every tip about sudden wealth, every discarded parachute found in the wilderness was meticulously investigated. The FBI pursued everything from disgruntled airline employees to ex-military personnel with skydiving experience. The sheer volume of false leads proved exhausting, slowly chipping away at resources and morale. The case began to acquire a mythical quality, making it even harder to distinguish fact from fervent speculation. With each dead end, Cooper's legend grew stronger. It's crucial to remember the technological limitations of 1971. There was no DNA analysis, no widespread surveillance cameras, and no digital forensics. The internet was decades away, making information sharing and large-scale data processing cumbersome and slow. The investigation relied heavily on traditional police work, interviews, physical searches, and paper trails. These limitations gave Cooper an advantage that a modern hijacker would not have. In a world on the cusp of the digital age, D.B. Cooper operated in a window of opportunity, a perfect storm of primitive technology and a vast, wild landscape. This allowed his vanishing act to be truly complete. One of the most concrete pieces of evidence, paradoxically, was the list of serial numbers on the $200,000 in $20 bills. Every single bill had been photographed by the FBI before delivery. This created a unique fingerprint for the ransom money, making it theoretically traceable if any of the bills resurfaced. The FBI released a partial list of these serial numbers to financial institutions and the public, hoping for a match. This detail fueled a persistent hope that the money, if not Cooper himself, would eventually lead to a breakthrough. It was a needle in a haystack, but a distinct needle nonetheless. The question remained, would anyone ever find it? Years after the jump, in 1978, a small, unassuming piece of evidence finally emerged. A placard detailing instructions for lowering the aft airstair was found by a deer hunter near the likely flight path, about 13 miles north of Vancouver, Washington. This tiny fragment of the aircraft was later confirmed to be from Flight 305. While seemingly insignificant, its discovery confirmed the general area of Cooper's jump and reinforced the FBI's understanding of his escape method. It was a tangible link to the plane, but did it bring investigators any closer to the man himself? Or did it merely underscore how deep into the wilderness he disappeared? Then, in February 1980, nearly a decade after the hijacking, a true breakthrough occurred. 8-year-old Brian Ingram was digging on a beach known as Tina Bar along the Columbia River, near Vancouver, Washington. He unearthed 3 bundles of $20 bills, heavily deteriorated but clearly identifiable as part of the ransom money. The serial numbers matched the FBI's list. This discovery reignited the case and offered the first solid evidence of Cooper's fate, or at least, the money's fate. Was this a sign that Cooper had died in the jump, and the money had drifted downriver? Or was it a deliberate plan to throw off investigators? The enduring mystery deepened. The condition of the Tina Bar money was telling. The bundles were severely decomposed, indicating they had spent a significant amount of time exposed to water and sediment. Scientists hypothesized that the money was deposited by the river, rather than buried by a person. This suggested that Cooper might have landed in the Columbia River or one of its tributaries, or that the money became separated from him during his descent. The discovery shifted the focus of the search area and fueled new theories about Cooper's immediate fate. It was a tantalizing clue, but also a perplexing one. If he died, where was his body? If he survived, why abandon the money? The Tina Bar discovery brought renewed hope and a surge of public interest. New searches were initiated along the Columbia River and its surrounding areas. Hydrologists studied river currents to predict where Cooper or more money might have landed. Despite these efforts, no further definitive evidence, no more money, no parachute, no human remains, was ever found. The $5,800 recovered remained the only tangible proof of the ransom money's existence outside FBI vaults. The fleeting glimmer of a resolution faded once more, leaving investigators to grapple with the implications of the money's discovery without ever finding the man. The river had given a piece of the puzzle, but not the solution. One prominent theory suggests that D.B. Cooper was an experienced skydiver or perhaps former military personnel with parachuting expertise. His calm demeanor, detailed instructions to the crew, and apparent knowledge of the plane's airstair mechanism point to someone familiar with aviation and survival techniques. Supporters of this theory believe he meticulously planned his escape, including navigating the jump and surviving the landing. They argue that an experienced individual could have evaded capture in the rugged wilderness, potentially burying the money and eventually resurfacing elsewhere. This theory paints Cooper as a master planner, a professional who executed a perfect, if daring, crime. Conversely, another theory posits that Cooper was a civilian, an amateur who, despite his apparent calm, may have underestimated the extreme danger of his jump. The conditions were treacherous: night, heavy rain, strong winds, and freezing temperatures. The parachutes provided by the FBI were not optimal for such a jump, and his choice to jump in a business suit rather than proper gear further suggests inexperience. This theory argues that even if he survived the initial impact, he would have quickly succumbed to the elements in the unforgiving wilderness. The discovery of the Tina Bar money, found downstream, supports this notion, suggesting the money separated from a deceased or incapacitated Cooper. Could a novice truly pull off such a feat? A very plausible theory suggests that Cooper died shortly after his jump. The specific flight parameters he demanded, flying at 10,000 feet with landing gear down and flaps at 15 degrees, meant an airspeed of approximately 190 miles per hour. Jumping into that kind of wind, in pitch darkness and a storm, while strapped to $200,000, was incredibly risky. Even an experienced skydiver would face significant challenges. falling into the heavily wooded, mountainous terrain, or directly into the frigid Columbia River, could easily have been fatal. This theory aligns with the lack of a body, as it could have been lost in the dense forest or washed away by the river, explaining the Tina Bar money. It's a somber but logical conclusion to a desperate act. Perhaps the most tantalizing and enduring theory is that D.B. Cooper not only survived the jump but successfully vanished with his ill-gotten gains. This idea feeds into the romantic notion of the audacious outlaw who outsmarted the system. Proponents suggest Cooper had a predetermined landing spot, perhaps an accomplice waiting, or a meticulously planned escape route through the vast wilderness. The absence of his body, alongside the partial recovery of the money, leaves enough ambiguity to sustain this narrative. Did he melt into society under a new identity, living off his stolen fortune? This vision of Cooper as the ultimate escape artist continues to capture the imagination, even without a single confirmed sighting. After decades of tireless investigation, with no further substantial leads or discoveries, the FBI officially suspended its active investigation into the D.B. Cooper case in July 2016. While the case technically remains open, it is no longer actively worked by agents. The FBI stated that all credible leads had been exhausted, and the resources could be better utilized for other cases. However, they continue to accept any newly discovered physical evidence related to the parachutes or the ransom money. This decision marked the end of an era, acknowledging that perhaps some mysteries are simply destined to remain unsolved. The hunt for Cooper may be over, but the questions persist. D.B. Cooper transcended the label of criminal to become an American folk hero, an anti-establishment figure who defied authority and vanished without a trace. His story inspired books, movies, documentaries, and songs, cementing his place in popular culture. He represents the ultimate fantasy of escape and rebellion, a man who beat the system and got away with it. This cultural fascination often overshadows the reality of the dangerous crime he committed, transforming him into a daring enigma rather than a ruthless hijacker. The allure of the unknown, coupled with his audacious act, made Cooper an enduring symbol of defiance. His story is told and retold, each time adding a new layer to the myth. Even today, decades later, the D.B. Cooper case continues to captivate the public imagination. Online forums, amateur sleuths, and new investigative theories regularly emerge, dissecting every detail of the case. The enduring mystery serves as a powerful reminder that some stories refuse to be neatly concluded. It's a testament to the human desire to solve puzzles, to find answers where none seem to exist. The image of a man leaping into the unknown, carrying a fortune, remains an irresistible hook, a tantalizing what if that keeps the legend alive. The myth has outlasted the active investigation, becoming a permanent fixture in the American consciousness. The case of D.B. Cooper leaves behind a trail of unanswered questions. Did he survive the jump? If so, how did he evade one of the largest manhunts in history? What was his true identity? Did he ever spend his ill-gotten gains? The truth remains shrouded in mystery, lost somewhere in the rugged wilderness of the Pacific Northwest. While the FBI has moved on, the questions themselves continue to fuel the legend, ensuring D.B. Cooper will forever remain etched in the collective memory as the man who pulled off the impossible, a perfect crime, a flawless disappearance, and an enduring enigma that defies resolution. His story is a testament to the allure of the unknown. From a seemingly ordinary flight to an extraordinary leap into the unknown, D.B. Cooper's story is a profound journey into the heart of America's greatest unsolved mystery. It's a tale of audacious daring, meticulous planning, and ultimately, an utter vanishing act. The facts are few, the theories are many, and the conclusion is absent. What began as a brazen hijacking transformed into a cultural phenomenon, a cautionary tale, and an enduring testament to the human capacity for both extraordinary crime and relentless investigation. D.B. Cooper remains frozen in time, suspended between the clouds and the unforgiving earth, forever America's greatest phantom, the skyjacker who disappeared with the money and our peace of mind.